Now let us study about total probability law. What does total probability law means? Let's say if we have to find out the probability of an event which is known as A, probability of A, then what do we say? Let's say it is getting with intersection with a lot of E1, E2, E3 up till En. And what are these? These are again different mutually exhaustive events. These are mutually exhaustive events. That means E1, E2, E3 up till En, they do not have anything in common with each other. However, the sum of all of them would make up the would make up the entire sample space, which is the universal. Now, if I was to find out the probability of A occurring, then I can simply say that probability of A would be probability of A intersection E1 plus probability of A intersection E2 plus probability of A intersection E3, and this goes on up till En. So this is how the total probability of A is calculated. Now the main thing here is that once we've found out this formula, which is A intersection B1 plus A intersection B2, now here B is what we are considering as E1, E2, E3. These are our events, different mutually exhaustive events that are occurring. Now I hope you all remember we had studied this in conditional property, that A, given that probability of A, given that B1 has occurred, what does this used to be? Probability of A intersection B1 upon probability of B1. So from here, according to the multiplication theorem, we can find out the value of P, probability of A intersection B1. It would be simply the multiplication of A, probability of A given that B1 has occurred, and probability of B1. So that is what exactly has been written. And this is the formula that we are going to be using to solve our questions. So again, an important property, you must remember this formula. Let's look at a few questions. Based on those questions, you will be able to understand what exactly we are trying to tell you. Let's say if a ball is drawn from two bags. So whenever you are asked the question of total probability law, or in future you will learn about Bayes theorem, the main thing is first you draw, let's say, boxes, and then write down the probability of one which gets into it and the other which goes out of it. According to that, you will be able to find out the total probability law very easily. So here what do we have? Let's say this is my bag 1, this is my bag 2. So they've told us that a ball is drawn from two bags. Bag 1 contains 3 red balls and 2 blue balls. Bag 2 contains 1 red ball and 4 blue balls. The total probability of drawing a red ball is calculated using total probability. So we have to find out the total probability of drawing a red ball from either of the bags. So since both these bags are almost similar, so what would be the probability of me choosing a bag first? Right now I'm not choosing any ball here. First I have to choose a bag. So what would be the probability of me choosing a bag? It is going to be 50% for the first bag. It is going to be 50% for the second bag. So I can say this is 1 by 2. This is 1 by 2. That means 1 by 2 is the probability for me to go inside bag 1, and 1 by 2 is the probability for me to go inside bag 2. Now after going in, now I have to choose a red ball. How many total balls are here? 5. And how many red balls are here? 3. That means my probability of choosing a red ball once I'm into a bag 1, it is 3 by 5. And what is my probability of choosing a red ball once I'm inside bag 2? It is 1 by 5, because 1 red ball is here and total 5 balls are here. So what would be my total probability here of choosing a red ball? My total probability of choosing a red ball would become 1 by 2 into 3 by 5 plus 1 by 2 into 1 by 5. So from here, what do we get our answer to be? This is going to be 10 would be below, 4 by 5. So this would become 2 by 5. This is my answer. Now I will show you the formulas as well, where we have used which formula. So first of all, I hope you are understanding this. we were given 2 bags. Now the probability for me to choose any one of the bags is going to be 50%. They haven't mentioned anything about the choosing of bags. So I can choose any bag. So that means it is 50%. Now, once I've gone into any one of the bags, what is the probability of me pulling out a red ball? It is going to be 3 by 5 for the first bag, 1 by 5 for the second bag. Now we have to calculate the total probability. So for me to pick out a red ball from bag 1, of course I have to multiply these two probabilities, because this one has to satisfy and this one has to satisfy, or this one has to satisfy and this one has to satisfy. So whenever we are using or, we of course add a plus sign, and whenever we are using and, we use a multiply sign, and that is how we calculated total probability. Now other way of doing this was, first we find out the probability of choosing of bag 1, we find out the probability of choosing of bag 2. What is the probability of me choosing a bag 1? It is 1 by 2, as we talked about. Now what is the probability of me choosing a red ball, given that I have been into the bag 1? I have been in bag 1. Now what is the probability for me to choose a red ball? It is 3 by 5. What is the probability for me to choose a red ball given that I am in bag 2? It is 1 by 5. It is 1 by 5. Now let us simply just apply the formulas that we have just studied. What used to be PR? PR will be PB1 into PR given that B1 is occurred, plus P of B2 given that PR given B2 has occurred. So this is how exactly what the formula we've used, you can see. So basically this is my probability of choosing a red ball given that I have gone inside the bag 1, and this is my probability of me choosing a red ball once I have gone inside the bag 2. So I hope you are understanding this thing. A very important formula. Again, you can do this by the formula also. However, it is generally recommended that you solve questions of total probability and Bayes theorem using this square bracket, square box format, because it becomes easier for you. Right now, when we have just two options with us, it is easy for us to do it using the formula as well. But when in future, when we would have a several number of, let's say 4 or 5 options at the first, then it would become difficult, or it would become confusing using the formula. That is why we use this box format. Let us look at one more example. An urn contains 5 red balls and 2 green balls. So here we have an urn. This contains 5 red balls. Sorry, let me draw this side. Here we have an urn, or whatever it is, we don't care. Let us assume it is a box. 5 red balls and it has 2 green balls. Now what are they saying us? A ball is drawn at random from the urn. If the ball drawn is green, so whenever I draw the ball, which is green ball is drawn, then a red ball is added to the urn. That means once I draw a green ball, I add a red ball, 1 red, and 1 green gets subtracted from the entire thing, right? Because I've taken out the green. Now if it is a green, I'm adding the red ball. What further they are saying, if the drawn ball is red, then a green ball is added to the urn. The original ball is not returned to the urn. So they've told us, once I pick out a green ball, I throw it, I discard it, and instead of that green ball, I add a red ball inside the urn. And let's say if I pick a red ball, what I do is I discard that red ball, and instead I add a green ball. Now a second ball is drawn at random from it. That means there has been 2 drawns, the first drawn and now the second drawn. What is the probability that the second ball drawn is red? So now again we can do this by drawing 2 different boxes. Let's say this is my box, this is my second box, this is my, let's say, my first chance, first draw. This is my first draw. In my first draw, let's say if I choose a green ball, and in my first draw I choose a red ball. So either of these two can be my options, right? So either of these two can be my options. Either I choose a green ball at the first draw or a red ball. So what is the probability for me to choose a green ball? First of all, there are in total 7 balls here, 5 red, 2 green. So what is the probability for me to choose a green ball? It is 2 by 5. And what is the probability for me to choose a red ball? It is 5 by 7. Sorry, this is 2 by 7. Now what I have to do is, once I've chosen this green ball, that means now in my urn, what has happened is I've taken out the green ball and a red ball has been added. So now I have 6 red and 1 green ball inside the urn. And after this first draw of red ball, what happens is now I have a 4 red balls here and 3 green balls here, because a green ball has been added and the red one which I picked out, it has been discarded. Now this is my second draw. Now what is the probability of me choosing a red ball here? They've asked us in the question the probability of choosing that the second ball is red. So now what is the probability for me to choose a red ball? It is going to be 6 by 7. And here, what is the probability going to be? 4 by 7. So now let us use the total probability formula. P for me choosing a red ball, it is going to be 2 by 7 into 6 by 7 plus 5 by 7 into 4 by 7. So what does this come out to be? 12 by 7, and this one is 20 by 7. So 12 plus 32 by 49. This is my answer. So that is how this type of questions are done. I'm repeating this question again so that you get the proper gist of it. They had provided us with a, let's say, a bag where it had 5 red balls and 2 green balls. Now they are saying is that if I draw a green ball, what I do is that I discard that green ball, and instead of that green ball I add a red ball to the urn. Now if I pick out a red ball, what do? Is that I discard it, and instead of that red ball I add a green ball to it. So now they've asked us what is the probability of me drawing a red ball in the second turn, not the first turn. So in the first turn they have given us the option whether I can choose green or red. So we've taken 2 cases. In the first draw, if I draw green or I draw a red ball. So if I draw a green ball in the first turn, so it's going to be 2 by 7, and for drawing a red ball it's going to be 5 by 7. Now once I've drawn these balls, what has been the changes inside my bag? Now the number of red balls and green balls inside my urn has changed. So now in my second draw, for me to choose a red ball, what is the probability for me choosing a red ball in both these events? Going to be 4 by 7 and 6 by 7. So basically this 6 by 7 is nothing but probability of me choosing a red ball given that first draw is done. For me choosing a red ball given that first draw has been green ball. Now this is my probability for choosing a red ball given that my first draw was red ball. So this is how we calculate our total probability. Now let us understand Bayes' theorem. Again, Bayes' theorem is nothing different from total probability law. Both these laws go hand in hand with each other. Both are same. The only difference is, till now, for example, in the questions that we were seeing that they were asking us what is the probability of me choosing a red ball. Now what they will do in the question of Bayes' theorem is that they will say that I have chosen a red ball. Now what is the probability that it came from this pathway? Now let me go back to any one of the questions of probability theorem. What we did was we were basically generating 2 paths. One was, let's say this was my first path and this was my second path. Now in Bayes' theorem what they do is they give you the information at the end that I had chosen a red ball, or a red ball was only picked out in the second throw. Now what is the probability that I chose it from the first pathway or the second pathway? So that is how Bayes' theorem is calculated. Again, the more or less the concept remains the same. There are n number of events. I have to find out the probability of A. So again, it is going to be intersection with all these mutually exhaustive events. However, now the formula for calculating Bayes' theorem changes a little bit. Probability of me. Now what happens is Bayes' theorem is that we have been provided in the question that A event has already occurred. I hope you are understanding. In total probability theorem, we had to find out the probability of A. Now what happens in Bayes' theorem is that the A event has already occurred. Now we have to find out the probability of any one of the E1, E2, E3 events given that A has occurred. So for formula for Bayes theorem, what we are finding is probability of any event occurring given that a event has already occurred. So we write this down as P EI into P A given that EI has occurred upon probability of A. Now if you try to open this up, let's say if I open this P A upon I, so what would this become? P A intersection EI upon PI. PEI and PEI would get cancelled, so basically this can also be written as PEI intersection A upon PA. However, this would not be very handy while solving questions. This is the formula that we are going to be using while solving questions. So let us directly look into the question so that you get cleared with what Bayes theorem is. Now in this question they've given us two machines. Again, we use the same format that we used in total probability theorem. We draw two boxes. This is my machine A, this is my machine B. Now what they are telling us is that machine A produces 60% of products and machine B produces 40. Machine A has 5% defect rate while B has 10% defect rate. A product is randomly chosen and found to be defective. Now in total probability theorem, let us assume that had this been a total probability theorem question, then what would have they asked us? What is the probability that the chosen product is defective? Now in Bayes theorem what they do is they tell us that the chosen product is defective. Now what is the probability that the defective product came from machine A? So we have to find out what is the probability that it came from the first pathway and not from the second one. So first, again, the concepts are going to be same as we studied in total probability law. For getting into A, again, A produces 60% of products. That means the probability for me to get into A would be 6 by 10 or 60 by 100, which makes it 6 by 10. Let us simplify this more further. So this becomes 3 by 5. And for me getting into B, B produces 40%. So it is going to be 4 by 10 or it can be written as 2 by 5. Now defective, for products of A to be defective, it has a 5% defective rate. That means 5 by 100, which is 1 by 20. And for products B to be defective, it has a 10%. That means 1 by 10% defective. So what is my total probability? So my probability of getting a defective piece, what is my probability of getting a defective piece going to be? 3 by 5 into 1 by 20 plus 1 by 10 into 2 by 5. And from here what do we get our answer to be? From here it comes out to be, let's say I multiply this by 2 and 2 below, so this would become 2 to the 4, 4 plus 3 makes it 7 by 100. So my probability of choosing a defective piece is 7 by 100. Now what have they told us? We have to find out the probability that it had been chosen from A. It came from the pathway A. That means simply, again, nothing, probability that it came from machine A, given that the product is defective. What is the formula going to be? 3 by 5 into 1 by 20. This was for me to get into machine A upon what is the total probability of getting a defective piece? It is 7 by 100. So from here 100 and 100 gets cancelled. So 3 by 7 comes out to be my answer. So I hope you are understanding this. Now let's say if I was to do this using the formula method. Let's say this is my A machine, this is my B machine. For me to get into A, probability of me choosing A machine, it is 3 by 5. Again 60%, so 60% is 3 by 5. For me to choose probability B machine, it is 2 by 5. Now for me to get a defective piece, given that I have chosen A machine, it is going to be 1 by 20, 5% defective rate. So, and here for me to get a defective piece, given that I have chosen machine B, it is going to be 1 by 10, 10% defective rate. Now what I do is I calculate. If you see the formula here that we studied for Bayes theorem, here we had taken the formula for A as well, the event that has occurred. That means here what is that event? It is D. So from D, first we calculate D using our total probability theorem, which we get PD would be PD given that A has occurred into PA plus PD given that B has occurred into PB. So from here we calculated PD and that was 7 by 100. Now using this formula, P given that any event I has occurred, given A has occurred, sorry, is equals to probability of probability of EI into probability of A given that EI has occurred upon probability of A. So this was the formula that we studied for Bayes theorem. Now in this question, what was asked to us, we have to find out the probability that it came from machine A given that the product was defective. We had to find A by A given that D has occurred. So what would the formula for this transform into? Probability that A machine has been chosen into probability that a defective piece has been chosen given that A has occurred upon probability of defectiveness. So upon putting the values in this formula, we are going to get the same answer which we calculated here, 3 by 7. So again, for Bayes theorem as well, whatever this type of questions are asked, it is recommended that you draw this type of diagram or pathways so that it becomes easier for you to solve questions, because you just have to multiply all the probabilities that you got in one pathway and simply add the total probabilities of all the pathways. Let's look at one more example. In a group of 400 people. Now, this is a question, till now we were talking about just 2 pathways. Now, this is a question of 3 pathway. In a group of 400 people, 160 are smokers and non-vegetarian, 100 are smokers and vegetarian, and the remaining 140 are non-smokers and vegetarian. So, again, here we have, let me do this in the other page so that we have a lot of space. Here we have 3 spaces. What are they? One is smoker and a non-vegetarian. What do we have then? A smoker and vegetarian. A smoker and vegetarian. And we have a non-smoker and a vegetarian. What have they told us? That there are, in total, there are 400 people. Total 400 people, out of which 160 are smokers and non-vegetarian. So what would be my probability for getting into this pathway? 160 by 400. What would be my probability for getting into a smoker veg pathway? 100. There are 100 people, so 100 by 400 total value. And for non-smoker and vegetarian, we have 140. So 140 by 400. Sorry, this is 400. Now what they are asking us, their chances of getting a particular chest disorder are 35, 20 and 10%. So for these people it is 35%, this people it is 20%, and these people it is 10%. Getting a chest disorder. A person is chosen from the group at random and is found to be suffering from chest disorder. That means the total probability they have given us that the person they have chosen has chest disorder. Now what is the probability that the selected person is a smoker and non-vegetarian? That means we have to find it out from this box, which is smoker and non-vegetarian. That means this is the box that we are talking about. So first let us calculate our total probability of getting a or getting a person with chest disorder. So in this pathway it is 35%, so 35 by 100. Basically this makes it 7 by 20. This one makes it 20 by 100, so 1 by 5. This one makes it 1 by 10. So now what is the probability of person getting a chest disorder? From this pathway it is going to be, let's say if I cancel this out, 4 4s are 4 10s are, I get 2 by 5 into 7 by 20 plus 1 by 4 into 1 by 5 plus, here I am going to get 2 7s are 7 by 20 into 1 by 10. So upon solving this entire thing, what are we going to get? 225 by 1000, or let us simply just cancel this through. 5 4s are 20, 5 5s are, and here we get 200, 5 9s are, 5 40s are. So 40 by 9 is our probability of getting of choosing a person who is suffering with chest disorder. Now what have they asked us? that the probability that the selected person is a smoker and non-vegetarian. So for smoker and non-vegetarian, for getting into smoker non-vegetarian, our probability used to be 2 by 5, and the person with chest disorder, it used to be 7 by 20. So we have to find out the probability that it has been selected from this pathway. So probability that the selected person is a smoker and non-vegetarian given that he has chest disorder. So it is going to be 2 by 5 into 7 by 20. This is the probability for me choosing a person who is smoker and non-vegetarian and has chest disorder, upon the total probability of choosing a person with chest disorder is 9 by 40. 9 by 40. So simply let's just solve this cancel this by 2. So from here we get 14 2s makes it 28 by 45. So this is our answer. Now you could have done this using the formula as well. Now there are 3 pathways, so it would become a little confusing for you writing down the entire formulas for events and all those things. So I would recommend use this format for solving questions. This is the shortest way how you can find out the answer of such questions and solve the questions very quickly. Now let's look at another topic. I hope you all must have studied statistics before coming into probability. So this portion requires a little bit of knowledge of statistics, which is mean and variance. So here, first let's talk about a random variable. Again, a random variable is nothing but a random variable. So there are going to be numbers assigned to random variables, and for certain numbers we are going to have certain probabilities for each random variable, and then we might be asked to find out the mean or variance of that entire distribution. So again, a random variable is nothing but it is the outcome of any random experiment. Now one thing that I must not forget, random variable are of 2 types. One is discrete and one is continuous. Again, continuous is not in our syllabus. You will learn continuous when you get into the college. Discrete is values having integers, or mainly these are mainly whole numbers only most of the times, but they are integers as well. So, and for continuous, it can be any number, any real number, and it can be in range format as well. So that is what we call a continuous random variable, and discrete random variable is basically a number that is going to be given to you. Now probability distribution. Probability distribution is the outcome of that random variable. So of course, if I sum all the probability distributions that I've gotten from all the random variables, it is always going to be 1. Probability summation of probability distribution, this is nothing but my entire universal. And probability distribution is always going to be greater than or equal to 0. So basically, if I was to draw this in a table, let's say if I am given x, which is our random variable, and px is the probability based on each value of random variable. Suppose I get 2 here, and my probability of getting a 2 random variable is, let's say 20, sorry, this is going to be, let's say 3 by 5. For me getting a random variable which is 1, it is going to be 1 by 7, 2, 3 by 9, and so on. So let's say this is my probability distribution curve. So from here, what can I make out is that the summation of all px, let's say there are furthermore numbers, summation of all px, that means 3 by 5 plus 1 by 7 plus 3 by 9 up till whatever it goes, it is always going to be 1. It cannot be greater than 1. It cannot be less than 1. If it is less than 1, that means there are a few values that are missing from the table. So this is how this type of things are calculated. Now, based on this table, we are going to be calculating mean, median, and variance, standard deviation, and other things. So based on that probability distribution, what we get, our value of mu is n into p, where p we say that it is the probability of having a success. Variance, sigma square, is n into p into q, where q is, we say that the probability of having a failure, or standard deviation. Or instead of these formulas, for mean, the main formula that you must remember is sigma xi p xi. Xi is my random variable and p is the probability distribution that I get corresponding to that random variable. So here, let's say if I have to find out the mean for this table, what is it going to be? 2 into 3 by 5 plus 1 into 1 by 7 plus 2 into 3 by 9. So that is how mean is calculated. And for variance, the formula is sigma xi square into pi, p of xi, minus mu square. And of course, mean is represented by mu. So, and mean can also be represented by e of x. So remember this thing. In questions, they can give you that e of x is something. So you have to understand that it is the mean that they have provided to us. And of course, standard deviation is going to be nothing but the root of our variance. We had studied this in statistics. So these are formulas that you must remember. Again, these formulas do not come much in handy because this used to come when we had studied about Bernoulli trials and all those things. However, those things have been removed from your 2025 JEE main syllabus, so you need not focus much into that. The only thing here is that you have to look at these formulas. So now we'll look into a few questions to grab our concepts more stronger on these portion. Let's say a random variable has been given and they have given us the distribution table. For x is our random variable, px is our probability distribution. Now what we have to do is we have to find out, they have given us the mean is our x. Now there are a few unknown values a and b. So first we have to find that out. How can we find that? We have been given the value of mean, and one more information that we know is summation p of x is always equal to 1. We had studied this. So let us use these two values to find out our unknown values a and b, and then we can find out our variance, which is sigma square. So our formula for mean or mu is equals to 2.3. This is equal to summation x px. So 2.3 is equal to, what is our x px summation? This is going to be minus 2 by 5 plus minus a plus 3 by 3 plus 4 by 5 plus 6b. So this is exactly what we are trying to find out. So this is my first equation, let's say. And what is my second equation going to be? Summation of px is equal to 1. That means 1 by 5 plus a plus 1 by 3 plus 1 by 5 plus b. This value is equal to 1. So this is my second equation. Now let us solve these two equations and find out the value of a and b. So I'm directly writing down a is coming out to be 1 by 10 and b is coming out to be 1 by 6. You can simply solve these two equations and find out the value of a and b. From here it is going to be very simple. A plus b is going to be 2 by 5 plus 1 by 3, which makes it the LCM would become 15. So again, it becomes very simple for you to calculate this. Once you calculate a and b, so you can replace that values here. A is our 1 by 10 and b is our 1 by 6. Now we have to find out the variance. So again, we had studied the formula for variance. It used to be sigma xi square p of x I, and this entire thing has to be minus mu whole square. So xi square has been given to us. They have given us, again, had they not provided us with x square, still we could have calculated it. It would have just been the square of x. So you can see they are corresponding. Minus 2 square is 4, minus 1 square is 1, 3 square is 9, 4 is 16, 6 is 36. So similarly, in that way, now let us calculate this. 4, this would become 4 by 5 plus 1 into a. So a is 1 by 10, so 1 by 10 plus 9 by 3 plus 16 by 5 plus 36 by 6. And upon solving this, we subtract it by mu square. Mu is our 2.3, whose square becomes 5.29. So upon solving this entire equation, what are you going to get? 7.81 as your answer. Now in the question they had asked us, the variance is sigma square. This is our variance. And we have to find out the value of 100 sigma square. So 100 sigma square becomes nothing but 781. So this is our answer. Again, very easy. You just have to remember these formulas of mean and variance, and based on that you will be able to find out anything that they ask you. So that was all about the theory portion of this chapter. I hope you all must have understood total probability and Bayes theorem in a very good way, because mostly JEE asks questions from those two topics only. And of course, this entire chapter has a good amount of weightage in JEE mains in each and every paper. So if you have not understood total probability theorem and Bayes theorem, I would recommend you to watch the videos once again, so that you get the understanding of how the pathways exactly works in both those theorems. Now we'll start with the previous year JEE mains questions that had been asked. So let's get into that.